Hello and welcome back to the SketchPad Pod. I'm Alicia. I don't normally do this sort of thing. Normally me and Honor are making a podcast, which is probably you can find down below somewhere. So if you don't want to just listen to me chat and you'd rather listen to both of us chatting, then go find some of that good content. Today I wanted to talk about something that was on my mind. You know, when you're lying in bed late at night, just having an existential crisis, that sort of thing. I recently watched Tiffany Ferg's YouTube video on our obsession with productivity, so I will also link that down below if you're interested. That is just a general analysis of society's obsession with productivity, and I'm going to touch on that a bit today. I'm more going to focus this on art and productivity, hence the title. Great, now that we all know what we're in for, let's start the video. Artists today have to be so productive, or there feels like at least there's a need to be as productive as you can, to make as much work, to make as much content as you can, to get yourself noticed, or to manage to find an area of the art world for you to make a career out of it. I want to kind of break this down into a few parts. So the first thing I want to talk about is self-branding and identity. One big part of the art community is this idea of identifying yourself as an artist. I think that can be really positive. I think it takes people time to be able to go, you know what, I am an artist. It's kind of making a statement about yourself, who you are, who you want to be, what your goal is. Also though, it can mean different things for different artists. So a lot of artists have separate labels or separate categories that they will put themselves into, and I think that's one to help them establish themselves, like we all do within society, give ourselves a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of identity. But I think it's also sometimes pushed or forced upon us that we should have a niche, even within the term artist, within our field. So calling yourself an abstract artist, or a video artist, or a performance artist. And even further than that now, I'm realising that just because you call yourself an abstract artist, well, what does that mean? Like, are you a gestural abstract artist? Are you a geometric abstract artist? Like, is there a certain technique or certain medium? Are you a multidisciplinary artist? And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to criticise here. I should have probably put a disclaimer in at the beginning to say all of this is just my opinion, as a current art student who has a lot of free time on her hands. So there you go. So none of this is a criticism, and in fact I've had to start thinking about, well, where do I place myself within all of this? But it feels like it's more and more imposed upon us, or we're told that it's crucially important because there is this element of branding of an artist. You want people to be aware of who you are, what you stand for, and often that takes the form of social media. So nowadays it's kind of expected that you'll have some presence online as an artist, and people debate whether they want to have like an art Instagram account, or whether their main Instagram account is their art account because they are an artist and it's a lifestyle. But then you might ask yourself, if I'm posting just pictures of my dogs or my friends, how professional does that make me look if I'm trying to present myself in a certain way? So it's quite confusing and quite difficult to know what the right decision is. Maybe there isn't a right decision, but that's definitely something that I think about a lot. And then alongside this goes with the idea of doing things for monetary value. So me and Honor started this channel just as a fun way for us to spend more time together, to do something that we like, which is being creative. And I think it's a fairly millennial Gen Z type thing to be like, oh, we have good conversations, we should start a podcast. So yeah, we did that, and it's been really, really fun. But also there is that sort of pressure sometimes when you're making YouTube videos or podcasts, or it's like, oh, I'm gonna start a website and I need to keep that up, or I'm gonna start a shop, or maybe I'm going to go and do modelling, or you know, I'm gonna have this thing on the side or that thing on the side that can show that how diverse I am. Sometimes it almost feels like those things that could just be your hobbies, just be for relaxation, for enjoyment, kind of gets overshadowed by the need to feel productive, taking you in one direction towards this like goal of being a successful artist. I mean, what is a successful artist? You know, some people might say a successful artist is having someone buy your work and being able to make a living off selling your work. Somebody might say no one else has to see it. But I think the kind of consensus online these days is that if you don't have a presence, or if people can't see it, can't be aware of it, then it doesn't exist, or it's not worth existing, which I think is a difficult thing. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on you to feel like your work has to be up to a certain standard, or your work has to mean something, be for someone. Yeah, and along those lines, there's this idea that all art, like I said, has to have some sort of secondary purpose or meaning. So whether that's political, sociological, emotional, it's meant to provide something. It is a product in a sense, and I think artists really struggle with that. Of there's that innate need, or at least this is the way I feel, is you have this innate need to make, to create. You just enjoy making things, and it's cathartic. Once you declare, yeah, this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do, there's also this thing of you then have to suddenly realise that if you're wanting to do this as a career, to make money of it and live from it, then you have to become aware of the viewer, the audience, the consumer, the buyer, and what they want from a piece of work, or what they're going to be willing to buy. I think that's a really tricky position that a lot of artists find themselves in, and I think it's something that you only really start to think about once you've made that like a big step, saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. I mean, even at degree level, it's not really set in stone what I'm gonna do for a career yet. You ask peers and it's like, oh well, I want to be a professional artist, or it's I want to be a teacher, and whether those things are seen as equal value earlier on, and also I think just in general, saying that you want to be a professional artist is kind of seen as like the true goal, and that there's almost this unsaid rule that if you don't want to aspire to that, then it's like, why are you here? Why are you calling yourself an artist, and why are you doing this? Unless you want it to be a profession. I don't think everyone thinks like that, but I think it certainly can feel like that. Especially at degree level, you start to realise that you really have to think about what you want, and what will be expected of you, or what you need to do to get there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, and this is the main reason that I've been thinking about all these things, is how situation, i.e. isolation, or how leaving uni, being without the studio, can affect your mindset and your self-worth when it comes to being an artist. So I think when you're in isolation, or when you're at home, you know, when you're on a break, there's a feeling of, oh, I have all of this free time, well surely I should be making more art, I should be making more content, because otherwise I'm just wasting time and I'm not improving myself at all. And I've definitely felt that in the past as well, and I certainly have felt it recently, but I think then also there's this weird thing of suddenly you have all of this free time, but I still procrastinate. I'm still procrastinating, and I will find myself just going down a rabbit hole of, you know, YouTube or films. We have this perception that productivity now has to equal some sort of status gain or monetary gain, that if someone is not seeing the outcome of our productivity, then it's not productive. I think we need to think about productivity in a different way, in that it could be that being productive is taking time to have some self-care, to say, you know what, I am gonna just take a break, I'm going to watch some TV, or I'm gonna spend too much time on my phone. And as artists, I think it's important to take out the need to feel productive when making your art. Some of the time. It's really good to have motivation, and I'd say definitely one of the things about being self-isolated is that it allows you to develop that self-discipline and organisation. But I also think that one way to grow your practice as an artist, to just refresh that enjoyment of art making and why you do it, or why you want to do it as a career, is important. So if you saw the last video, you would have seen that I spent a while making a dress, and it's not the most amazing dress, but it was a little challenge for me, it was something fun for me, and it wasn't necessarily going to have an outcome that was going to get me lots of, you know, monetary success or status. So I really just wanted to do that and wanted to have fun with that. My mum asked me to do a drawing of the neighbours' dogs, and I am not a fan of drawing pets per se normally, but you know, I said to myself, no, this could be a useful task just to improve my drawing skills, and also just a nice meditative thing to do. So I did actually really enjoy it. So I did a landscape painting. It is up on Instagram, so perhaps there's an element of you take the photo afterwards, and therefore that makes it feel more productive. I think for me at least, when choosing what to paint, I wasn't worrying about what other people were going to think, or whether it needed to fit in with my portfolio of work that I've been doing for uni. So I just did a simple landscape painting. I'm not a landscape painter normally, but it was quite fun and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I think you can learn a lot from stepping back, from not putting as much pressure on yourself, and for allowing your creativity to run in any direction that it wants. But also, if that direction is, I don't want to be creative today and I need a break, I think that's also valid as well. I'd be really interested to know what other people think, what other artists think. If you don't make art, does this seem like just a bunch of rubbish to you? I appreciate you listening. But yeah, how are you finding it if you make art and you don't have a studio? How are you finding that? As you can probably tell by this rambling, it's definitely been on my mind quite a bit. Thank you very much for listening, and speak at you soon.